Just while we wait for the next presentation to start, I just love this digital burning fire log thing. It's so old school, stories around the fireplace gathered together. How's everyone going? Very well. Day 2. Somehow it's going easier than day 1. Auspicing this event here, so.ma.ra, and anchoring it here physically. All of the video that we're capturing here, we will be hosting online. Spread the word into your networks about so.ma.ra. We're going to try and do some marketing with all the content so people can log in, and 16 will be also offering an online webcast, a paid webcast for a global audience, so people can tune in live. And as part of that, there'll be sort of like a Google Hangout type modality where people can type in questions and ask questions from all over the world to our live guests and the panel discussions and things like that. So so.ma.ra is really, this is our first year. A couple of people were saying yesterday, this has been going on for thousands of years, but this is the first time under the banner of so.ma.ra. But, you know, in bringing this event together, it's like been picking at the ripe fruit, which is just so juicy and just around everywhere in the Shire. So many, as I said earlier, so many wise people and so much experience working with these modalities. It's been really beautiful to see the family and the tribe all shining. Also here at Starseed Gardens, I thought I saw Dan pop by before. I think there's plans for an Earth School. So check out starseedgardens.org. I think that's the address. To see what the full gamut of possibilities are available here at Starseed. They're doing lots of ongoing workshops over the next few months and years, forming this Earth School and anchoring a lot of the talk that we've had here, not just in regards to shamanism, but into really tribal living and earth-based approaches and growing and making things. He's the man himself. Dan, we're just waiting for our first afternoon speaker, Sebastian Job. Do you want to say a few little, what's happening with the Earth School stuff?
Earth School, we were going to be Earth School, but then we thought it would be Earth Education. So Earthed, it ended up being Earth School. And that's going to cut across everything from us.
But I guess most people here are familiar with, or at least want to be familiar with, the final vector, which I sort of locate at the top of the diamond, and which seems to me to be playing a crucial role in this complex world historical situation, is the emergence of massive inequalities of wealth. We're in a kind of neo-feudal situation now. Some of you will have seen the statistics that came out from Oxfam at the beginning of 2004, saying that the top 85 individuals collectively own more wealth than the bottom 3.5 billion. There's, in a sense, that's another of this. I think this is a crucial vector because it has the implication that there is no way the system can seriously reform itself. It sees the massive ecology than we used to be in ways which are completely ungoverned. The kind of Faustian genie of technology is way out of the bottle. But these people feel that they can insulate themselves for the time being within the framework of purpose and meaning that matters to them. And they're not capable of making rational steering decisions for the system anymore. I think that's pretty clear. Okay, so that's a little initial attempt to map where we are, or at least some of the ingredients that need to be brought into the picture. Do the plants stand a chance in this context? One of the things that struck me when talking to people is often you ask them, what have they learned from the plants? About themselves, or about how rituals ought to be organized, or how we help each other, or what the significance of the plants is, or their overall picture of reality. And one of the things I've kind of noticed is that they tend to sort of assume that the background picture is going to remain roughly the same. Maybe there'll be some, or that the change won't be too dramatic, and or that there'll be some kind of quasi-miraculous shift that sort of looks after the problem for us, like December 21st, 2012, the stars align, divine intervention. We wake up in a world of the 100th monkey, the critical mass, and humans are kind of entrained in a new harmonious paradigm. And I haven't found that convincing, but that doesn't mean that I therefore think the plants have no promise. What Stone Cyborg theory is an attempt to do is to, in a way, say, well, what if what people fear has already happened? What if in that vector of the four forces, what if the weakest link is actually the financial, economic, elite system? It's crashed in various parts of the world already. It looks very crisis prone. It seems to me a sober bet, a rational hope that it can go down before the ecological system enters such dire straits that we're out of time, and also before we get left behind by the rock, which tacitly was taking for granted that all of the ecological resources were going to be there and would continue to be fed and people are going to be civilized to each other and so on. So that's the kind of first way, and now I will take a risk and give you a second introduction, which is more of a kind of mythic introduction. And for this, we can probably go to the first of my very limited supply of PowerPoint. So that is a message. Anyway, there we go. Maybe that's been up the whole time, I don't know. So let's imagine, you can imagine how it goes. You're climbing a hill to go and check the drone catcher. It is sometime after history has popped. It is AP after the pop, as people now say. In the roots of a dead tree, you find an old book, or a book made to look old. You open and read it. I got to do it? I've got to do it. Okay. I am not a cyborg. Here we go. How's that? No, right arrow. Yeah. Okay. You guys can't do it from there? Oh, okay. All right, well, I told you I had a hate-hate relationship with these things. That's the thing. I'm too much in the head and not in the heart chakra, Dan, I admit it. But anyway, look, it's okay. Yeah. It's going to be such an anticlimax. It doesn't really matter. Seriously, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work. Okay, let's leave it, yeah? Anyway, look, so this hypothetical person, and in anthropology a person can refer to an animal, can refer to a person, a human being can refer to a cyborg. This person opens the book on their way to check the drone catcher, and they've imagined how it goes, and then they read and it says, okay, you can imagine how it goes. You're climbing a hill to go and check the drone catcher. It is sometime after history has popped. It is AP after the pop, as people now say. In the roots of a dead tree, you find an old book, or a book made to look old. You open it and read. So, this hypothetical person, we're projecting ourselves into the future, sort of reels in this fractal universe that they suddenly find themselves in. And they've long suspected that they might be dead already, just sort of haunting the sticks and stones of a gone world. they could just be a fictional character dreamed up by some people like us, projecting a possible way out when facing the apocalypse. So let's pull back and say, you know, we're in charge of this book, and this is an open invitation to change to open up, not to change, but to open up a different discussion. What would be in this stone cyborg theory? You are familiar with Terence McKenna's inspired speculations about prehistory. And when I came across these, you know, there it is. Oh, well, I said it would be an anticlimax. There it is. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So there is no next. So Terence McKenna was arguing that historians and archaeologists and anthropologists have completely underestimated the role of the psychoactive plants in the evolution of human beings from proto-human beings when we came out of the trees. And it's one that says, first of all, that these plants were rocking the cradle of infant humanity. They were there helping us to humanize ourselves and move from and human being. Secondly, the argument is that this wasn't just some matter of cultural taste or a luxury of any kind. Communities that took advantage of the plants and were to some degree better hunters, lustier fornicators, and better creative problem solvers, they had a selective advantage. Communities which didn't partake of the plants were less likely to survive. So there was a positive relationship that developed of mutual selectivity in a quasi-Darwinian sense between the plants and those early human communities. And we've heard from Nan and other speakers about the massive role of the psychoactives in many historical cultures. In our lifetimes, or lifetimes of almost everybody here, we've had a good example, I think, of the role that these plants play, which perhaps has been... That was it's the most massive geopolitical shift we've seen in the last 20 years. This is the computer revolution in the West, but particularly in the USA and specifically in Silicon Valley. And it was, in a sense, because the Soviet psychedelics, that they had the misfortune to be too good, and therefore, to some significant degree, they lost out economically. They got mired in a pre-electronic, pre-computerized, pre-information economy. Another way to put that is that, for good or ill, acid bears some of the responsibility for the fact that we now live in a global capitalist-dominated world. And maybe, so it's got a kind of notch on its belt already in recent history, and perhaps those who partake of the psychoactives also bear some more responsibility for thinking through how to resolve some of the problems of that system. Okay, jump forward to the future. Let's suppose, as I've been suggesting, that the technological innovations can...
Keeping good company is half the way home. Suddenly remember there is no separation. The mind remembers that you're already experiencing no separation. It's just the mind, a bit after the fact, is reminded through perhaps these portals of medicines that there is only one here. It's not us and them. It's not these guys who are working it out that way and those guys who are working it out this way. We really do recognize at one point in our lives it's a knowing within you. You let that live you. And so you'll find yourself at Bentley recreating it, which was one of the most amazing demonstrations of unity in our community, to say, no, we're not going to do this to the earth. And I would probably bet that every single person, the people who were there, had one's transcendental experience to know that the earth is our mother. She craves our touch. Is that asking very much? You know, she bursts into flower when we come near. The spaces she cradles every single fear. You know, like the space of knowing that we take care of the earth takes care of us. This is the universal knowing throughout all the ages. And then what happens if you recognize what's happening with you, not just dismiss it, that was a great trip, but really take in what was revealed in me, you naturally will take action to care. And that movement was wonderful. It was at ripe time too in the Rainbow region, fulfilling a prophecy that people would come here at this time, from the originals tell me, to reclaim right use of land. People from all colours of the rainbow. And we do call it the Rainbow region. If you separate the colours out, no rainbow. I don't know what is the same in you. Humanity. And naturally, I don't want to poison the rivers. But the next step is love in action. Once we've received these knowings, once we've had these revelations, it's love in action. And that's where the Buddhist principle, keeping good company, is half the way home. It's absolutely essential we come together, as the American Indians say in the Hopi prophecies. Everything we do now must be done in sacred celebration and in ceremony. There's a river flowing very fast. There are those that be afraid. But the elders say, let go of the banks, let go of the slipstream, come together, flow down. To take anything personal at this point in time, your journey comes to a stop, or at least a cul-de-sac. Let go of the known way. Go with the flow. Everything we do now must be done in sacred ceremony and in celebration.
A wonderful segue into the story that I wanted to share about my experience with Bentley. So for those who don't know, and possibly international audiences, Bentley was a local gas fracking protest. And I was painfully aware that, you know, from reading Be Here Now from Ram Dass back then, that we were the protesters created the police and vice versa in that sense. And just to address what Sebastian was saying, it's not...
With him, with a dear friend here, some years back, had never contacted him, but a few days later was inspired in the internet to see if I could find him. I wrote. He wrote back, yes, I was journeying that night, and yes, I sang that song of the hummingbird, but understandable. Arunachala, Machu Picchu, on the songlines of the earth, we are all connected, we are one. Your journey, you taking substance, is affecting everybody. And in this space, this is why I really honour conscious appreciation of the process, conscious learning, because it is an amazing responsibility. You sing into your own heart. That light, it is connected on the song lines of the one heart. I have an Aboriginal friend, an original one. He says, we don't need no mobile telephones, we call on the song lines of the heart.
We could go in so many directions with that. We've got to move on. We have a very exciting international Skyping in imminently coming on. It'll be Dr. Octavio Rettig, who'll be talking about 5-MeO and the 5-MeO DMT and the Sonoran Desert Toad. So stick around for the next talk.
Dan, did you get to finish your idea before? You probably lost it by now. What's that? You were talking before about people...
So I'd like to welcome via Skype Dr. Octavio Rettig.
Yep, hi.
Thanks for being here at the last moment. It's really great that you could join us and continue this discussion about shamanic medicines. We've been having quite a dense and a mature discussion around many different facets around shamanic medicines and about some of the issues that we're facing as a global shamanic culture. Earlier today, Octavio, we had a very interesting and a provocative panel talking about cultural appropriation and issues around that with Indigenous peoples. And I've heard some great work about what you do with the 5-MeO DMT from the Sonoran Desert Toad, but I just wanted to, in the interests of transparency, comment and ask you for some clarification. We've noticed that the authorities of the COMCAC, the Honourable Council of Elders, who were involved with you in teaching the medicine of the 5-MeO Sonoran Desert Toad, have in fact issued a statement on December 22nd, 2013, saying they do not accept any responsibility for the work that you do and have asked for the return of their Indigenous medicines and have called you a toad poacher. Would you like just to set your side of the story clear?
No, that it's a fake paper that it's on the internet. I got the original documents that 4 years. I gave them back the knowledge of the medicine. All the tribes of Sonoran Desert, they forgot about the usage of this medicine in contemporary times. And I came to the community treating mainly crystal meth addicts with this medicine. After that, the fusion of the 5-MeO DMT and the sacred chants of the Seri community show me a different approach to these techniques of purification. And beside that, I start archaeological and historical research on the background, on the museums and on all the archaeological sites in Mexico. So I start to find a lot of evidence to connect the mythology and the belief in the feather, the cosmic serpent or Quetzalcoatl with this unique species of toad. And this has been confirmed by scientists and archaeologists. And I'm about to launch the movie about the research in 3 months. So I've been I'm invited to be in Australia in a few weeks. And it's a pleasure to me to announce this tour on Australia, and also that the connection with the elders of the Seri community, it's forever. They call me and they name me as a medicine man, and I'm the spokesman to travel with this message to the world. So, been caused some kind of enviness and problems with a lot of people who has never done anything for any community, and they now are just jealous about the white man has been embraced by this community, and I'm the carrier of this knowledge. And as far as I know, I am the only one who is certified by Sonoran natives for doing this work. But yes, there is a paper on the internet named is posted on. I can't remember now the name of the page, but it's completely fake. So I have nothing to feel shame or guilty about it. I'm supported by not only the Seri community and the second community using this toad medicine, that it's the Yaqui tribe, but also for the rest of the natives of Sonora, because no one remembered that this toad contained this property in recent times, and has been a work for the last 9 years for me. But since 4 years to the present day, the work has been increased by the support of international organizations who are working with traditional medicines as ayahuasca and yopo. This Venezuelan organization named ANUV, Asociación Naciones Unidas Venezuela, they have been doing tours with Taitas from Colombia, from Peru, to world tour with the medicines, and all the incomes are for helping to create the reserve, to preserve this unique species of toad, and to put some pressure in the authorities to create laws to avoid people to extract the toad from the desert, because it's a crime to have these beings in a fish tank just for squeezing the glands. Because we need to understand the priority to nature, and just having the rhythm of harvesting the things around us, instead of trying to manipulate the universe. So yeah, it's I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah, no, thank you for the clarification. It was very illuminating. So, how do you find then just working with the Sonoran desert toad? Coming, as you said, there are indigenous cultures which have worked with this animal, in the right relationship with it as well. But how do you find, as a modern person, you're working with lineage and you're introducing it?
For myself, was through a friend who also is a physician. But the knowledge of the toad was in the United States, in California, in the 80s and the 90s. So was through some kind of hippies who told my friend the source of this variety of DMT. But at the beginning, we didn't know about what was it really. So my friend and I, we went together to Sonoran Desert for the first time together, and we collect some medicine. And then I start to do my own healing process with the medicine, because making some mistakes and then changing the technique and the procedure. But for today, the technique it's really simple, because it's just standing yourself in front of the sun with your eyes open, and then you breathe in the medicine, and you try to be focused on the present time and on your breathing, instead of trying to escape into somewhere else. So I've been watching the different results with the different context, and sometimes it's more important than the amount of the medicine. With this, have some kind of physical condition, and it's important for the people know that this is not recreational or for fun. This is maybe the most powerful natural substract, and it's non-vegetal. So the way of ingestion, it's a direct connection with these energies, and there is no any barrier to cross. So it's really delicate to share, guide, or be with someone who is having for the first time this medicine, but having therapeutic dosage and the therapeutic process to heal a specific condition, it's different. But I've seen maybe around 8,000 or 9,000 people with this medicine in the last 8 years, and I have around 3,000 testimonials signed by people between 5-year-old to 91-year-old. and all kind of spectrum among these people. And I can say that this is the missed link. I can see that this kind of intoxication, it's different than when you eat something raw. This become from the stage when we start to use the fire and we start to cook our food. And this is so ancient, but at the same time, it's so new for in the line of evolving for the hominids and techniques, these ancient technologies. And the experience with the medicine of the toad is completely different to the rest of the plants, because with this medicine you don't need to explain any kind of vision. This is about going directly to feeling inside of you your own emotions and how the way that you interact with your inner being and how you express that to the universe. That's the key to be completely happy and in peace. So yeah, this is I believe the next step for most part of humans, but I think that this has already happened before.
Thank you. This is Dan here, and I have a question for you.
Okay.
In 1990, I was living, and I had a waterfall and like an indoor garden, and I did squeeze the parotid glands of the toad back then, but I noticed the toad didn't really enjoy being squeezed. And so two questions. One is, have you found a way to humanely or ask the toad to give up its medicine without it feeling discomfort? And the other is that because I decided at that stage to stop squeezing the toad, I noticed something deeper and more subtle, and that is just living with the toads in the place I was living, which was a big studio. Just their presence created a field, and that field was, even though it was subtle, was very powerful. People would walk in every day and go, you know, they would comment on the nature of the light, on something about that space, and I was convinced that the toads, just their presence, created like a field of this
And
energy
if
without
that's true,
smoking them.
then will be no violence in Sonora, in the border with United States, the place of the toads. Come on, let's be realistic. This toad suffer no harm with the